Hello, Bristol. I'm Bruce Dorner. With me today is Raymah Simpson, our town clerk, and we have an exciting yet sad announcement. Raymah, after 30 plus years of service to the town, has determined it's time to retire as our town clerk. So our hope is to take this opportunity to get some memories from Raymah, from what Bristol was, what Bristol is today, and the views for the future, and to say thank you to Raymah for her dedicated service. So, hi there, Raymah.
Hi.
Are we going to have some fun?
I hope so.
Okay. The first thing I'd love to do is have you tell us what is the job of the town clerk and how did you get into it?
The town clerk is basically the information booth for the town of Bristol. We get all kinds of calls from everyone, whether it's a seasoned resident or if it's somebody new into the town, just to try to find out what they need to do to declare residency, to registrations, to vote. So we get, like I said, all kinds of calls. We also do vital records and taxes, of course, and a lot of questions about taxes and how they're done and how they get to the point where, as I tell people, I collect the money. It's the rest of the assessing in the town and the selectmen that come up with a
So you run the toll booth, you just don't get to spend it.
That's right.
Okay. Now, you also now have taken over vehicle registrations too, so there's a lot going on in that office.
We always do vehicle registrations in New Hampshire.
And you have a role at the town meeting also. Tell us a little about that.
Town meeting is where we have to take all the minutes for the meeting that's going on. And as I was told when I first started from Jackie Krause, who had been here almost 30 years, that you have to be very careful with the minutes because it's the history of the town. So I've always tried to do that so that if you look back 20 years ago, you can look in the town report and you can know what happened at that meeting and what decisions were made.
Now, you've been at this for so long. I'll bet when you started, the records were primarily in paper form as opposed to electronic.
They had just gone to electronic when I started.
So must have been a bit of a challenge of learning all of the techniques and tools.
Yes, it was very much a challenge because when I started, like I said, I was deputy in name only, but I never really worked in the office. So I went to Concord for a week at that time to try to learn everything you could in a week. And I remember my first customer came in, he said, "I'd like to transfer this plate, I'd like to transfer it to my new vehicle." And I remember in my head, I thought, okay, go ahead, because I don't know how to do it any better than you do.
Oh, yes. Things are a little more flexible in those days. Now, you've got a very old notebook in front of you.
Yes.
And if I understand what you've shared with me, this is the record going back into the early to mid 60s.
Yes.
Of who signed up to run for any town office.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Let's take a look in there at some of the history of Bristol in one little notebook. Who are some of the names in there that, we might recall from those who were, well, like yourself, grew up in Bristol?
Right. Well, I remember William Tucker. He was a fire commissioner. This is back in 1964. I also remember Fred Morgan because he was a neighbor of mine when I lived on North Main Street. Our backyards touched. Jerry Filto had been the town clerk.
Wow.
And, John Schofield was a selectman. He had also, at the one time, we had in the bottom of the old building, there was a courthouse. And he was Judge Schofield.
Wow. So a lot different we've seen over the past 50 years of changes in Bristol and how everything kind of matured
Yep.
and moved along up into the 70s and 80s. This is absolutely fascinating. Now, I also understand that you have a role in elections.
Yes.
And what service does the town clerk provide regarding elections?
Well, we're called an election official. We have to be there to oversee the election along with the moderator. The moderator is basically in charge of the election. The selectmen help set it up. The town clerk for the last 50 years or more, we've always set it up. We go up to the town hall and make sure everything's set up. The highway department does all of that for us. And then as a town clerk, you go in and make sure all the paperwork's there that needs to be. Otherwise, you could get points against you with the state because they come in and check to see if everything's there that's supposed to be there. And then we're there for any problems that may come up or questions that people have. So the town clerk works closely with the moderator on elections.
Now, speaking of moderator, you're an elected official and so is the moderator. Mm-hmm. And you and Ned Gordon, our town moderator, have been in this, shall we call it, business for many years.
Yes.
I understand that for elections, you and Ned have like a friendly competition. And
yes, we do.
I think it's fascinating. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
When Ned and I have to run at the same year, which isn't, it's every, I can't remember, 6 years or something like that. Whenever we have to run together, we always try to see which one gets the most votes. And last time it happened, I got the most votes.
Yep. So my recollection was Ned was not opposed in that election, nor were you.
That's right.
So it's hard to lose that one.
Yeah, it's just a fun thing, yeah.
Yeah. Now, you grew up in Bristol.
Yes, I did.
What have you seen as the biggest change in town over the years if you had to pick what moved Bristol forward?
Bristol has changed a lot. You know, when I think back to it, there's just so many changes. I mean, I think the downtown is absolutely beautiful now. It was always, I think, a nice downtown. It kind of went downhill maybe a little bit for a few years, but I think now with everything the stores are coming back and the restaurants, and it's just a nice, very nice downtown now that I think attracts a lot of people, especially with the bike path and then the path that goes down to the Pemmy River. I think, you know, that's some big changes there.
Now, in your job and your time in Bristol, you've run into literally tens of thousands of people. Is there anyone who stands out as one of the more memorable people you've encountered, either on a political nature, personal nature, somebody who stopped in to say hello at town offices that you thought was nice?
Yes, there's quite a few. There was one man that came in a few years back, and he brought a friend of his in with him, and he said, I had to bring my friend in. He didn't want to come in because he doesn't like to go in town clerk's office. And I told him that our town clerk was really nice and he would like her, and he didn't believe me, so I made him come in to see you. He said because every time he's been in the town clerk's office, it hasn't been pleasant. So you know, I talked to him, and when they got ready to leave, the other man that didn't like town clerk says, I can see why he comes in here, because it's very friendly in here. So that was nice. I've had people, of course, get very upset with me. I've had someone throw coins at me because they didn't like what their tax bill was. I've had, of course, been yelled at and called some names, but
That, I guess, is part of the thick skin you have to develop to do the job well.
yes.
And you've certainly done an amazing job over the
Thank you.
years. Now, What would you say was the most fun you had as town clerk in your job and things you've encountered?
Well, I've always worked with some really great people. My assistant, I had an assistant for the first 10 years, and then I got a deputy after that, and then when she left, I got Cheryl as my deputy. So I've always liked the people, the ones I work with. I also, 99.9% of the people that come in, my customers, I like them. I just always try to make them feel comfortable and not, worry, especially the young people that it's the first time they've come in to register a vehicle. So I try to make them feel comfortable. So it's been a lot of fun. I've met so many other town clerk tax collectors around the state, and I was the president of the state of New Hampshire's Town Clerk Association. And a few years after that, I was tax collector president of the state. So it's been interesting to get to know so many people, and I've loved the whole aspect of town clerk tax collector. And as I used to say in my meetings with other town clerk tax collectors at conferences and things, I wish I was younger because I'd like to stay in it longer.
It must require a lot of energy to keep up with all of the changes and the additional tasks.
Yes.
And now with the combined office of clerk and tax collector, must add a lot more responsibilities.
There is. There's a lot.
And you're moving hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars through your
Right.
door every year.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yep.
So a lot of work in there.
There is a lot to it. It's a lot more than I think people realize there is, because you also have to stay up with the laws and everything that are always changing.
That's true. Now, elections are getting to be more contentious than ever. What role has the town clerk had in making sure that the election process is fair, thorough, and votes are all properly recorded? How do you and our moderator coordinate that effort?
Well, the state has a lot of classes for us, for both the moderator, myself, and the supervisors of the checklist. So, and then they are constantly updating us through email and everything on what we need to get done. So we have to follow that, make sure we're doing it right. It has certainly changed a lot over the years, because I was a ballot clerk before I started working for the town, and then I was a supervisor of the checklist for a long time, probably close to 20 years or so. And then so much has changed. It used to be, when I first started, a big white paper, and it just had the alphabet on it. And you could just write in the name of the person when they came to vote if they weren't already registered. They did have to have a small card that they filled out and things. So, I mean, it's a lot more now. You have to show your license, you have to show your residency, so there's a lot more to it now than there had been.
Yeah, and I'll bet in those days you knew 90% of the people that walked in the door because you grew up with them.
That's right, that's true, yes.
Now, in looking back, your childhood histories, your contact with the town, what would you say are the most memorable things of growing up in Bristol, and what made it the place that you knew you wanted to stay?
Well, you knew a lot of people. It was safe. They keep saying, you used to go out and play and you didn't have to come home till the street lights came on, and that was very true. You knew almost everybody in Bristol. Even I lived on North Main Street, but people on South Main Street and Prospect Street around the town, you still knew those people. So you could always, if you felt unsafe, you knew whose house you could go to. Trick-or-treating, we used to go all over town. It was just a group of us kids. There weren't ever any parents with us. So, and then when I took my kids, I had to go out with them, but it was so different.
Yeah.
On those type of things. We used to have a winter carnival down in the square. I remember when I was really little, they used to put a big pile of sawdust and throw pennies in it. And it was for all of us little kids, and we could dig through the sawdust until we found all the pennies. So, I mean, there was a lot going on, and then I wanted my children to grow up in a small town where, when I was at work, I knew that someone was watching over my children anyway, and that they weren't alone.
Now, what would you like to see in Bristol as far as the future? What do you think would make Bristol the memorable community that you grew up in and your children grew up in?
Oh my, that's a hard question. I think Bristol's, kind of like that now. I think you need more neighborly, maybe. People get to know each other better.
So in essence, if they stop in at the town clerk's office and say hello, they'll start to become better neighbors.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And I like people to stop by, and I, always try to give them my card and say, if you need anything, just call our office, and if we don't know, we'll try to put you in the right direction.
Well, Raymah, are there other things that you think would be helpful for the people watching this to know about you and the town clerk's office?
Well, I feel like most people know me because I've been here for a long time. I know a lot of people. I think Cheryl is going to do a great job. Cheryl Herbert's my deputy, and I think she's going to do a great job. She's trained with me for a little over 3 years, so I think she's going to do a great job. Her deputy is going to be my daughter, Carrie Nyberg. So I think this will be good for Carrie. Carrie's an outgoing person, and I think she'll really like the town clerk's office also. And then we have an assistant now, Dottie Luce, and I think she's done really well. She started in January, and she's done really well.
So we've gone from one person in the clerk's office
to two and a half.
And we're still growing, and Bristol is growing. And I think a lot of the growth in Bristol can be attributed to your bright smile, your service to the community. And Raymah, on behalf of the people of Bristol, thank you so much for your dedication, your years of service, and your care of community. A portion of Bristol's heart goes out the door with you, and I'm hopeful that you enjoy your retirement as much as we've enjoyed everything that you've done for the town. Raymah, all I can say is thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right.
I love my job.
And to Bristol, we've enjoyed our time with Raymah. Do stop by the town clerk's office at some point. Get to know the new faces that are there. And if you make it in before the end of May, stop in. Give Raymah a good hello and a hug and a thank you. Have a great day, Bristol.